The room fell silent as the journalist's mocking words echoed through the press conference. Tiffany Trump? Isn't she just another socialite trying to stay relevant? The crowd gasped, cameras clicking furiously as all eyes turned to Barron Trump, who had been sitting quietly at the edge of the stage. His calm demeanor shattered in an instant. Barron stood up, his towering frame commanding attention, and walked toward the podium. What happened next left everyone in the room speechless, and the internet would never forget it. It was supposed to be a routine press event. Barron Trump, now in his early 20s, had been invited to speak at a charity gala in New York City, hosted at the prestigious Waldorf Astoria. The event was organized by Youth Horizon, a nonprofit dedicated to providing educational opportunities and mentorship to underprivileged children. Barron had been working with this charity for several years, quietly using his influence and resources to make a difference. His involvement included not just financial support, but also direct engagement with the kids, mentoring them, and even helping to design a new curriculum focused on technology and entrepreneurship. The room was buzzing with anticipation, filled with journalists, photographers, and curious onlookers from various backgrounds. The atmosphere was charged, not just with the usual media frenzy, but with a genuine interest in the causes being championed. The decor was elegant, with tables adorned with centerpieces of books and gadgets, symbolizing the blend of education and technology at the heart of Youth Horizon's mission. The room was bathed in soft lighting, with walls lined with posters depicting success stories from the charity's beneficiaries. Barron sat quietly on the stage, listening as the event's host, Maria Gonzalez, a well-respected philanthropist known for her work in educational reform, introduced him. She was eloquent, speaking about how Barron had not only provided financial support, but had also spent countless hours on the ground, in community centers and schools, teaching coding to kids who had never seen a computer before. Maria's praise was heartfelt, highlighting how Barron had chosen to use his advantageous position to uplift others, rather than focus on personal gain. Barron was dressed in a sharp navy suit, his posture relaxed but confident. His hair was neatly combed, and his eyes, inherited from his mother, scanned the room with a mix of anticipation and wariness. The questions started off relatively mundane. What's it like being the son of a president? Do you plan to enter politics? Barron answered each one with grace, his tone measured and polite, often bringing the conversation back to Youth Horizon's mission. He spoke passionately about the latest initiative, Code to Change, which aimed to introduce coding skills to children from low-income families, providing them with laptops and after-school coding classes. He shared anecdotes about the kids he had met, their dreams, and the tangible improvements he had seen in their confidence and academic performance. He talked about the stories of individuals like Jamal, a 15-year-old who had built his first app after joining the program, or Maria, who had gone from hating math to excelling in her school's coding club. He also mentioned a new partnership with tech giants to expand this program nationally, ensuring that more children could benefit from these opportunities. The audience listened intently, some moved by his dedication, others perhaps surprised by the depth of his involvement. There was a palpable sense of hope in the room, a collective belief in the power of education to change lives. But then a journalist from a well-known liberal outlet, Liberal Voice News, raised her hand. She was Emily Carson, in her mid-30s, with a sharp bob and an even sharper tongue. Known for her incisive and often controversial commentary, she had built her career on hard-hitting questions that sometimes crossed into personal territory. Her presence was almost like a storm cloud over the otherwise sunny disposition of the gala. "Barron," she began, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "while we're on the topic of your family, let's talk about Tiffany Trump. Isn't she just another socialite trying to stay relevant? What does she even do besides post on Instagram?" The room froze. The question wasn't just rude. It was a calculated jab at Barron's family, designed to provoke and potentially derail the positive momentum of the event. Cameras zoomed in on his face, waiting for a reaction. For a moment, Barron said nothing. He simply stared at Emily, his blue eyes icy and contemplative, processing the implications of her words not just for his sister, but for the integrity of the event. Then he stood up. Barron walked to the podium, his movements deliberate. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. He adjusted the microphone, leaned in, and spoke. "Let me get this straight," he began, his voice calm but laced with steel. "You're here, at a charity event meant to help underprivileged kids, and your question is about my sister's Instagram?" Emily blinked, caught off guard by the directness of his response. I was just asking," Barron cut her off. "No, you weren't just asking. You were trying to provoke a reaction. You were trying to turn this into a headline. Well, congratulations. You've got your headline." The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement, others shifting uncomfortably in their seats, perhaps reflecting on their own roles as media representatives. Barron continued, his voice rising slightly but never losing its control. "Tiffany Trump is my sister. She's a law school graduate from Georgetown, a businesswoman who has her own line of clothing and someone who's worked tirelessly to carve out her own path. But you wouldn't know that, would you? Because you didn't bother to do your research. You just saw an opportunity to take a cheap shot." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Tiffany has also been involved in numerous charity events, advocating for women's rights, supporting legal aid for those who can't afford it, and she's been part of several initiatives to promote arts and education. But none of that fits your narrative, does it?" The journalist opened her mouth to respond, but Barron wasn't finished. "And while we're on the topic of relevance, let's talk about you, Ms. Carson. What have you done lately to make the world a better place? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like your only contribution is tearing people down." The room erupted into applause. Emily's face turned bright red as she sank back into her seat, the weight of the moment perhaps dawning on her. Barron took a deep breath, his expression softening. "This event is about helping kids who don't have the privileges many of us take for granted. If you're not here to support that, then maybe you should ask yourself why you came." The video of Barron's response spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was trending on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. The hashtag #Barron shuts it down began trending worldwide, with millions of people praising his composure and wit. Memes flooded the internet, with captions like "Barron Trump 1, haters 0, and "Don't mess with the Trumps." Tiffany Trump herself tweeted a heartfelt message. "To my little brother at Barron Trump, thank you for standing up for me. You've always been my biggest supporter, and I'm so proud of you." Family first. Even critics of the Trump family had to admit that Barron had handled the situation with class. "Say what you will about the Trumps," one commentator wrote, "but Barron just showed us what it means to defend your family with dignity." The fallout from the incident didn't stop there. Emily Carson faced intense backlash online. Her employer, Liberal Voice News, released a statement distancing themselves from her comments, emphasizing their commitment to ethical journalism. After a week of internal review, she was let go from her position. Meanwhile, donations to Youth Horizon skyrocketed, with many citing Barron's speech as their reason for giving. Barron, however, remained humble. When asked about the incident in a follow-up interview with Maria Gonzalez, he simply said, "I didn't do it for the attention. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Family comes first, and I'll always stand up for mine." The incident marked a turning point for Barron. No longer seen as just the quiet youngest son of a controversial family, he was now recognized as a thoughtful, articulate young man with a strong sense of integrity. He continued his work with Youth Horizon, using his newfound platform to advocate for educational equity, mental health awareness, and community support initiatives. He initiated several new programs, including a scholarship fund for students who excelled in the Code to Change program, ensuring they could continue their education. As for Tiffany, the incident brought her closer to her brother. "Barron has always been my rock," she said in an interview. "What he did that day meant the world to me. It reminded me that no matter what happens, I'll always have my family." She also decided to increase her involvement in charity work, particularly focusing on women's rights and legal aid for underprivileged communities. She launched Empower Legal, an initiative aimed at providing free legal advice and representation to those in need, further cementing her role as more than just a socialite. Months later, Barron received a letter from Emily Carson. In it, she apologized for her behavior and thanked him for calling her out. "Your words that day forced me to take a hard look at myself," she wrote. "I realized I had become the kind of person I used to despise. Thank you for giving me the wake-up call I needed. I've since taken a step back from journalism to work on personal growth and community service. She had started volunteering at a local shelter and was taking courses in ethical journalism. Barron never publicly shared the letter, but those close to him said it meant a lot to him. "He's not the kind of person who holds grudges," a friend revealed. "He just wants people to be better." Barron's viral moment wasn't just about shutting down a rude journalist, it was about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. It was a reminder that kindness and integrity can make a bigger impact than anger or insults. And it was a lesson in grace that left everyone who witnessed it questioning their own assumptions. The impact of this incident rippled through society. Schools began integrating more tech-focused education into their curriculums, inspired by Barron's advocacy. Other children from privileged backgrounds were motivated to volunteer and engage in philanthropy, seeing Barron as a role model. Even the media underwent a subtle shift, with some outlets reevaluating how they covered personal lives versus public contributions. If this story moved you, take a moment today to stand up for someone who can't stand up for themselves. And if you'd like more stories like this one, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's spread a little more kindness, one story at a time. In the months following the gala, Barron made regular appearances on news shows, not to discuss politics, but to promote educational initiatives. His efforts led to increased funding for schools in underprivileged areas, and he was instrumental in forming partnerships with tech companies to provide resources directly to these schools. The Barron effect, as it was dubbed by some, wasn't just about charity. It was about changing the narrative around what it means to be a public figure from a famous family. He became a symbol of how one person's actions could inspire systemic change. His work with Youth Horizon expanded into international projects, focusing on digital literacy in developing countries. Tiffany, inspired by her brother's actions, not only continued her work, but also started a foundation aimed at supporting young female entrepreneurs, offering grants, mentorship, and networking opportunities. Her visibility in this new role helped to redefine her public image, focusing on her contributions rather than her lineage. Emily Carson, after her public debacle, slowly rebuilt her career, this time focusing on stories that highlighted community heroes and unsung acts of kindness. She wrote a book about her transformation, titled From Headlines to Heartlines, where she chronicled her journey from a controversial journalist to someone focused on positive community impact. Barron's approach to life, emphasizing empathy, education, and integrity over sensationalism, became a topic of study in universities, particularly in courses on leadership and social responsibility. His story was cited in numerous motivational talks, educational conferences, and even as part of corporate training on leadership and ethics. The long-term effect of that one evening at the Waldorf Astoria was profound. It wasn't just about a moment of confrontation. It was about setting off a chain reaction of positive change, proving that even in the most public and scrutinized environments, one could stand for more than just personal or familial reputation. Barron Trump had become not just a defender of his family, but a defender of ideals, inspiring a generation to look beyond the noise and focus on what truly matters. Thank you for watching till the end video. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories.